Hey everyone, how are you doing today? Those of you who are new to my channel, hello and welcome. Those of you not quite so new to my channel may kind of be already noticing that I'm not exactly filming somewhere that I would normally film. I'm actually in bed right now. I've got my duvet on. I've been laid up for a few days with some really bad migraines and they've eased off just about enough for me to quickly record this, but then I'm probably just going to go straight back to sleep. But I'm already a bit delayed in getting this video out, so I just wanted to get this bit done and recorded so I could get this video out, because this is a project I've been working on for about 3 months now. I'm super excited for it and I can't wait to kind of show you guys. I have created my own TBR game and I was originally inspired by JD Ray Reid's, and originally I made a TBR Pursuit game for myself, and I did play it for a few months. I just never got around to actually filming. Well, actually that's a lie. I did get around to filming it, I just never got around to editing and posting it. So yay me. But then Book Roast a few months ago released her TBR Avatar, so it's based all on Avatar The Last Airbender. I've started the show but I haven't finished it, so I'm not as huge a fan on it yet, so I was like, well, I don't really want to use that idea. But it did give me the idea of, well, what shows do I know that I love and I know well enough that I could maybe do my own game using her idea as like an idea for the basis of that game. Originally I thought She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, and I was going to set the board up so you go through all the different realms within Etheria, so you go through like the Whispering Woods and you go through Bright Moon and all of that. But then I was like, as much as I love it, I don't think I've got enough there to sort of categorise and do what I was hoping to do with. And then I thought of my absolute favourite anime of the moment. It's not my all-time favourite, that still goes to Fruit Basket, and that anime is My Hero Academia. I highly recommend it. If you have no idea what it's about human society where 80% of humans are born with these powers or quirks. So you might have a power that lets you control minds, you might have a power that gives you super strength or super speed or the ability to foresee the future. And this society is like evolved and adapted, and now there's a new profession called heroes. There's also like, you've got villains as well. The story follows a young boy called Izuku Midoriya who was born without a quirk, and basically his dream is to be a hero even though he doesn't have a quirk. And then one fateful day he meets his hero All Might. Eventually stuff happens and he ends up inheriting All Might's quirk, which is something that's never been heard of before. It's not known. So he then starts his journey as a hero in training, goes to a special school called UA High, where he begins to train and learn how to be a hero. And it's really, really cool because it's got some fantastic characters. It's funny, but it's also really, really emotionally driven. Like, I have cried so many times. My housemate has cried multiple times. Even Rob has been brought to tears more than once by this show, and believe me when I say that that is a really, really good sign of how good this show is, because he doesn't cry for just anything. That's just a bit about the show itself, and obviously it's got a massive cast of characters who are categorised in different ways, which lends really, really well to the idea of having different categories for the books. I don't have the board with me because I'm a complete and utter tit. Just don't think of these things in advance until after I started recording. I did go and get it because I want to be smart. So, this is the board. I've got my Heroic TBR, so that's what the name of this game, I should actually probably say that. The name of this game is My Heroic TBR. So this is the UA High building. You start up here, you start up here, doing your entrance exam, and then you've got little bits along the board, which I will go through shortly when I skip to actually like doing the game. I do talk through those. In a similar way to how Book Roast has set hers up, I've done it that while I'm playing the game, I am on a book buying ban unless I'm buying a book for a specific prompt or for a readathon or anything like that. In that case, I will be allowed to buy that book. But the idea is obviously I want to try and clear my TBR shelf, which is so full at the moment. I've filled all 3 shelves and yeah, I need to kind of get on that and empty some of those shelves a little bit more. I have a dice and I've gone with a D10. So the furthest I can move is 10 squares. One of the symbols is the gauntlets that Bakugo wears, and essentially I've called that the go to hell box. So if I land on go to hell, because that is one of his big sayings, he says either die or go to hell a lot, I have to draw from this, what was a plant pot and is now my go to hell jar. And these are books that I am either not sure I'm going to enjoy, positive that I'm not going to enjoy, or they've been on my TBR multiple times before and I've still not read them. So if I draw from this, I have to read that book above any other that month. So, you know, I have no choice. I have my D&D miniature that I'm just going to use as the board piece. Rob did buy me recently some My Hero figurines, but they're like this big and they're just not going to be small enough for the board. So the deck of cards, eventually I'm going to get these made into like a proper tarot deck with like really good high quality paper. But for now, I've got 100 prompts that I've done on these cards. We have 5 categories. Oh wait, no, there's more than that. There's 7 categories. There's one that I forgot. So we actually have 7 categories. My apologies. So this one, I've got C, which means Class 1A, which is graphic novel and manga. We then have U, which is UA high students, and for that you need to read contemporary. Next we have P, which is for pro hero, which is fantasy. V for villain, so obviously if you've got the pro heroes, you've got to have your villains, and villains is to read crime, thriller or horror. Next we have E, which is events, and so for that you've got the UA Sports Festival as an example, so read a book that features a competition. S for the staff at UA High. S is adult, which kind of fits with an R-rated. And then finally we have the B section, which stands for blank. So these are prompts or people or places that didn't quite fit anywhere else. Them being blank, you can just read any genre that you want for that. Hey everyone, editing Kirsty here because filming Kirsty is a tit that forgot to check her cards before doing the video. So the prompts are actually a little bit different. Class 1A is graphic novel manga, just like I said. Then staff at UA High is urban, paranormal, that kind of thing. Villains is crime, thriller, suspense, horror, that kind of genre. Pro heroes is fantasy. UA students is contemporary. And then events is sci-fi. And finally blank is obviously, as I said, just any at all. But yeah, I did completely screw up when I wrote those, so that's why I'm overwriting myself now to tell you what the actual categories for these cards are. I'm in editing mode, I'm not in brain mode. So those are the cards. The rules of the game. The rules are quite simple. To start the game from fresh as I will be for this, it's a requirement to read the first book in a new series. Usually I'll do 8 rolls because my average is I read between 7 and 10 books a month. So I thought if I go for 8, that's kind of a nice middle ground and more doable for me. I may revise that in a couple of months and drop that down to 6, I don't know yet. If I land on one of the squares that has a specific thing on it, I've got to do the prompt for that. If I land on a blank square, I just have to draw from the cards. The following month, if I say I have a list of 8 books and I read 5, then that means I can go forward 5 steps. However, because I didn't do 3, then I would obviously lose 3. So I'd end up going forward 2 steps overall. So basically the more I read, the further forward I go and the closer I get to being able to buy books again. As stated earlier, I am on a book ban while I'm playing the games. When I reach the end of the board and I win the game, I then roll my D10, and however many books turn up, I will be allowed to roll. I'll be able to buy that many books. So it could suck because I could roll like a 1 or a 2. So that means I'm only allowed to buy 1 book, but I might then do a second roll to add to it. I don't know yet. Or I could get really lucky and roll a 10, so I get to buy 10 books. In terms of DNFs, if I DNF a book, I'm not going to punish myself for that, because I think Book Roaster's got it right. Why would you punish yourself for not enjoying a book? I don't get a reroll, but I also don't I do get to move forward, because at the end of the day, I did make a start and I got a good way through it. 'Cause I don't DNF until I'm at least sort of 30-40% of the way through a book. So for me, that's quite a significant amount of time put into that book. Therefore, I'm not going to say, no, you can't go forward. And also, it's my game. I get to make my own rules. And I'm not going to punish myself when I'm already having a really shit time at the minute and going through some really bad health stuff. Without further ado, we're going to now switch to the main board. And we're going to get the first round of the My Heroic TBR complete. Okay, so this is the board that I was saying about. It's really annoying because I did these in a oil-based marker, and unfortunately when I then sprayed the sealant, it kind of made the oil marker bleed. So some of them are okay, but then a few of them are a little unrecognisable. So we have start of the thing, you've got welcome young hero to the entrance exam. We have All Might. I know I am so bad at drawing. I'm getting better, but this was one of my first ever attempts at drawing. If I land on him, that just means that I get to go to the very end, and it means that I win. We've got Bakugo's gauntlets, and he represents Go to Hell, and if I land on him, I need to pick from my Go to Hell jar. Battle of the USJ, so if I land on that, I get to advance, and then for that land, I need to read a book that features any sort of disaster, so whether it be like a pandemic or a volcano or someone's been murdered, anything like that, it's got to be something that's very disastrous. Then towards the end of this one, we've got the Sports Fest tournament, so if I land on that, I go backwards, and the prompt for that square is to read a book that features a tournament. Then there's your provisional hero licensing exam. The prompt for this one is to read a faction-based book, so whether that be a dystopian like The Hunger Games, or it might be a book with like featuring gangs or something like that. So anything that's like got factions in it to represent the different schools, then you read that and then you go ahead in the board. Then you've got the F, which just means you failed your exam, and as a result you go back a little bit. And with this one, if I land on that, then the prompt will be to read a book that features a test. So it might be like a test of courage or a test of strength, or again, it might be similar to the USJ. It might to the sports tournament. It might mean that there's a competition. Then we've got another one of Bakugo's Go to Hells. I really like those. And then we have All for One, 2 squares from the end. So if I land on him, I've got to go all the way back to the entrance exam, because I am a sadist and I like punishing myself, apparently. I'm really actually quite happy with it, especially from a distance when you can't see all the flaws. Let's get on with it, I guess. Roll number 1 of the first ever My Heroic TBR. Welcome, young hero, to the entrance exam. As I said, to start, I need to read the start of a series. I've heard so many people raving about this book and this series, and I got it for my birthday from my very lovely housemate Faye, and that is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. It's set in Mars. You've got the main character who is sort of a red cast or cased person, and they're basically treated like slaves, and he's been told all his life that he needs to be mining all this material in order to keep the planet alive. But then he discovers that the whites, I believe it's the whites, let me check, the golds. So he realises that the golds are actually living lives of luxury, and that the reds have basically been their slaves for all this time, and they've been lied to, and it kind of just starts, as the title suggests, it starts a rising, and he takes the lead in that. That's the prompt for that one. So here we go, first roll. 3. Obviously, there are no prompts on the board, so we go to the cards. So I'm going to close my eyes and show you guys what the card is, and then I will look and see for myself. So first card of the game is Eri. Oh, I love her so much. First roll of the first game, and we got Eri, and that was middle grade, or the MC is a child. For this, I do have the actual physical copy, and I have actually read it because I'm editing this sort of a week into April. So I have finished it already, but I'm not going to say anything about it. But that is Skullduggery Pleasant Book 1, which is both a middle grade and features a child main character. So I kind of tick both boxes. And with it being a blank, it means that it can be any genre. So I will get a respin for that. But yeah, so that's the first prompt. Okay, roll number 2. The Mind Flayer, so 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh. Okay, we are blank, which is yet another card. So here we go. It is the Wild Wild Pussycats. Next up was the Wild Wild Pussycats, which is the prompt for squad goals. And for that, I have just lost the page that I was marking with that note thing. Whoops. For that, I'm going with Namesake by Adrienne Young. I read Fable last year and loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I got to the last page in the last chapter and was absolutely screaming because they left it on one hell of a cliffhanger. And I've started, as you can see, I have started Namesake already, and so far so good. So Wild Wild Pussycats, pro hero, fantasy. This is pirates and fantasy, so definitely counts. Book number 3, roll number 2, because obviously we're starting the board, so that's 3 of 8 done. Roll 4, number 6. Right, we have another blank, so let's draw. What are we going to get? We then drew Sato, which was a book cover with sweets or confectionery. I kind of got a bit creative with this one, and I'm going with an ebook. I'm going to finally finish the Confectioners series by Claire de Luna. I've been reading this for 2 years. I read the first one in 2019, the second one last year, so finally I'm going to read the final. And it's called The Confectioner's Truth, and at the end of the second book, everything went to hell and back, and some really awesome characters either died or were lost, and we don't currently know what's going on with them. Basically, the entire kingdom has been overthrown by a foreign place, and they now have a new leader and a new ruler. Everything's changed. The game has been set. And now we need to find out like what's actually going to happen, who's going to win, is everyone going to make it out okay? Even though this one doesn't have a confectionery on the cover, it does have confectioner in the title, so I'm calling that a win, and I am counting that, and I'm finally going to get this series finished. Okay, roll 5. So book 5 is going to be 2. Oh god, we are very close to the grenade. I was getting scared now. This one was really, really difficult for me to think about. I was like, oh my god, what do I go for? And then I remembered that the wolf pack in the main wolf pack that we follow in the Side Changeling, the Snow Dancers, they live in caves that are partially set underground. So I was like, boom, Caressed by Ice, book 3 in the Side Changeling series. This is my joint favourite book along with Heart of Obsidian. So this one follows Brenna and Judd. Brenna was abducted and almost killed by a Psy serial killer in the first book, and this is now her book all about her recovery and sort of her rediscovering who she is after being irreversibly changed in different ways from who she was. And then you've got Judd, who was an Arrow in the Psy network. So the Arrows are these group of assassins that a lot of people think are actually just fairy tales, but they are real. He and his family defected, and they left the Psy net, and they left the Psy when they were slated for rehabilitation, which would have turned them basically into mindless vegetables. So he and his brother, along with 3 children, they escaped, and they took refuge in the Snow Dancer territory. So this follows like his and her story, him as he's adjusting to life with the wolves and learning what emotions are, and her who's almost become quite Psy-like herself. She's shut herself off, and now they're trying to bring her back. And it's a really beautiful story. It's made me cry. It's probably going to make me cry again, but I am here for it. So that is my underground setting. Roll number 6, or book number 6 is... Oh, thank God it's not a 2. So obviously we are a blank. Ooh, Tomura Shigaraki. I definitely know already what book that's going to be. Shigaraki, chosen family. He is a villain. So the idea is mystery, thriller, crime, which unfortunately this one isn't. This book is a paranormal fantasy. And probably to no surprise of anyone, I've chosen Nalini Singh. This one is Visions of Heat, and I've chosen this one because it's book 2 in the Psy Changeling series. This follows Faith and Vaughn's story. Faith is a foreseer for the Psy, and she has visions, and then you've got Vaughn, who is one of the most wild of the changelings, and they kind of... their relationship is just pure electricity, and I loved it from page 1. So, chosen family, because obviously with changelings they choose their mates and they choose their family. So that's why I chose this one. I chose. So I won't get the bonus spin, but I don't care because I want to there's 23 books in this series in total, and I think book either 23 or 24 comes out soon, so I do want to reread the whole series this year. Right, what book am I on? 2 more. Roll 7 is 3. 1, 2, 3. Blank. I'm already thinking I need to put some more tiles in, maybe, to just mix it up a bit. Class 1A is graphic novel and manga, so if I can find a graphic novel that has a character with a dark side that they try to control. Oh, Samurai Deeper Kyo! Oh! Obviously the prompt, just to remind you, even though you've just seen it, Tokiyami, so a character with a dark side that they struggle to control. I've had to go with book 2 of this one because I've had this series since I was about 16, which is kind of scary. Those books have moved with me about 7 times, and for a long time these books just lived in my grand's attic, and I only refound them last year when we went round. Yeah, book 1 has vanished and it's now out of print, so it's really hard to get a copy. But I've gone with Samurai Deeper Kyo Volume 2. This is one of my all-time favourite manga series. The animation, the drawing style is gorgeous. The characters are brilliant. The storyline is so funny. So if I just show you some of the animation on it, you know, that detail is so good. It's really funny. And basically it's set in the Edo period. It centres around like shortly after the Battle of Sekigahara, which is a real battle that happened, and a lot of real historical figures are in this book. So you've got oh god, somebody or other, Sanada. I cannot remember all of their names, but I will at some point remember. The main characters are, you've got Kyoshiro, who had an arch nemesis called Kyo, who was known as Demonized Kyo because he was the killer of 1,000 men. And essentially he used magic to seal Kyo's body and spirit inside of himself, but over time he's starting to weaken. So Kyoshiro himself doesn't remember. He thinks that he's just a regular young man because he's forgotten a lot of who he was before all of this happened. But he is aware that he's got this person inside of him, and every now and again Kyo manages to like break free and take over Kyoshiro's body, and they end up teaming up with Yuya, who is a bounty hunter, and she's so cool. And yeah, it's just really funny, but it definitely, Kyo is this dark side that Kyoshiro is trying to control and really struggles to control. And it's just like, you know, a really dark, mature... Like, this is definitely not one for teenagers or kids. This is definitely one for, like, 16 and above. I would even say maybe 18. But it's got some fantastic characters. It's in a brilliant setting. And the story is incredible. And I still haven't finished the entire series. So that is probably my goal in my life, is to get all of the books again and read them all. But yeah. And then lastly, for this time, we've got... Going that way. I need to put arrows on this thing, so I've already lost my place like 3 times. Last one for this month is 3. So 1, 2, 3. I've not been rolling very high. And I've noticed this dice likes the number 3, so I might have to change to a different one next time. Here's the card. Shinzo was a really difficult one for me because it was like, I know I don't tend to read that kind of story because it's not really my kind of trope. Then again, I got quite creative with it, and I remembered that I've got a couple of audiobooks on my phone all about managing anxiety and controlling anxiety, and I'm due to start therapy in April, so I thought that would be like a really good way to meet this prompt, but also to sort of help me get in the right mindset and get in the right sort of frame of mind for going into therapy. Because I've always been very reluctant to do therapy in the past. I've always felt it's a little bit pseudoscience-y, and I've always felt a bit like, well, how's it going to help me? And in the past it hasn't helped me, but that's because obviously they've approached it as if I'm quite neurotypical, and the activities and the things that they were getting me to do years ago were not good for me, because having ADHD, I struggle to do those particular type of activities. Whereas this time I'm working with a therapist who's worked with people with ADHD, and she doesn't give you like loads of stuff to read, and she doesn't give you these like activities to do every single day. She gives you sort of like activities that you can dip in and out of and that you can use any time. So I think it's going to help a lot more, because this time I'm approaching the therapy with a different mindset and with a different sort of need for it. And so I thought that'd be a really, really fitting read is Anxiety. I can't remember the full title, but I'll show it up here. It's by Joshua Fletcher, and I have already started it. I've got through part 1 and it gave me a lot to think about. So that's fun. But it's also been really good, and it matches the prompt. UA students contemporary, so I guess it kind of counts because it is a contemporary thing and it's real life, so I'm going to say it counts. Okay, I'm aware that this is a very long video, but I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that not only you follow me on this fun little game, but maybe you might want to choose to do it for your own TBR, so you could always like use the prompts that I've got to pick your own TBRs, or if you wanted to, I'd be more than happy to share the PDF of the cards and of the board. I might take a really good photo of the board, but certainly if you want to play along either with your own TBRs or following mine, let me know in the comments. And if you would like a copy of the cards, again, let me know in the comments and I can get in touch with you about sending you a copy of the PDF. Also, let me know if there's any books in my TBR for this month that you have read and enjoyed, or maybe didn't enjoy. And if you do decide to do your own books, then again, let me know in the comments like what books you've picked for the prompts. So yeah, I'm going to go back to shutting my curtains, going in the darkness and sleeping now. And I hope that you're all doing good. I hope you're all staying safe, and I will see you on the next video. Ciao!